Biohazard warning. Entering contaminated zone. Transmissions jammed. Proximity coverage only. Backup activated. System rebooted.
What's going on, agents? Sly here, and thanks for checking out another Division video. So before we start this beast of a video, if you haven't watched the latest state of the game, click this right here or check the link out in the description box below. It makes everything else I'm going over a little more understandable. And besides, there was a ton of info within the video. It's definitely worth a look. Alright, so let's get excited, guys. This is a huge, and I mean a huge amount of changes coming to Last Stand, as well as Update 1.6. With the state of the game and the Intelligent Annex that came out shortly after, another article popped up on the Division website that lays out the plans for what's to come. Now, it's not everything, but it goes over everything well enough to lay out a clear idea for what's ahead. Alright, well, let's get this bad boy started. First of all, the good news is that Last Stand and Update 1.6 will be coming to all platforms at the exact same time. Xbox, PS4, and PC can enjoy this together the same day, so I know that this is something a lot of players are very happy to hear about. So let's talk about Last Stand. Now, this DLC is mainly bringing a huge PvP experience to the game, sort of like Domination. But with that, the Dark Zone is expanding by opening up 3 new zones, 7, 8, and 9. They will be north of DZ6 and basically expand right up next to Central Park. As you can see from this image, the zones themselves don't necessarily look all that big, but unlike the original DZ, the devs have promised us way more accessible spaces, tons of underground areas and tunnels, more rooftops, and significantly increased indoor fighting space. Whereas DZ 1 through 6 only had a few select buildings that you could actually go inside. These new spaces will introduce building after building, floor after floor of spaces you can explore and fight in. Now, with that in mind, the size itself might only be a quarter of the original DZ, but the amount of ground you can actually walk over will double in size. Last Stand does a couple of different things. It's a separate activity like Survival, and it's made to attract PvP players that want a dedicated PvP environment. Last Stand will only be available by itself, but if you go into the Dark Zone, outside of that, like in the normal game, you can freely explore and walk from DZ1 through DZ9 unhindered. This newly added space will bring in a lot more enemies, but also spread players out a bit. The amount of people inside the DZ at any one time will not change from what it's at right now. And the idea is that most of the people looking to do straight up PvP will go into this new mode, rather than roam around the DZ trying to find people. While I personally remain a little skeptical about that, it is definitely a great idea. Now, in Last Stand, there will be 2 teams, 8 versus 8. One team is Division agents and the others are Rogue. Now, there is no Rogue mechanic in here, it's just for lore reasons. There are 3 zones within the map, A, B, and C, and within each zone there are 3 control points, or encryption points as it's called in game. Your team must capture each of the 3 points to control the zone. Of course, B is always going to be the contested area, and A and C are considered home bases. So to add a little PvE twist, each map that you're in will have landmarks just like in the DZ, and NPCs will roam around like normal. NPCs will drop Shade Tech, which is a currency used to fortify the zones and help you keep control longer. There are deployable turrets as well as pulse beacons that use Shade Tech that'll help you control the area. Now, how much it costs and which NPC types drop them have yet to be revealed, but this way it allows PvP as well as PvE players to participate in a game type. With PvP players battling for Zone B, that allows PvE players the chance to roam the map and kill NPCs, all while collecting Shade Tech for the entire team. Once time starts to fly by, rules will start to change, allowing you to spawn in faster and even spawn directly next to a teammate in need or at an area that needs taking. So expect a fast-paced environment the longer the game goes on. It works just like Underground. As you play, you gain special experience points, and gain Last Stand ranks up to a maximum of 40. Each rank you earn will drop a sealed cache of items, and at certain milestones, you will unlock exclusive vanity items and weapon skins that are exclusive to Last Stand. Now, there are 2 full sets of vanity items, and also this isn't like the Dark Zone. You cannot lose points or currency when you die. Whatever you earn, you get to keep. Now, there hasn't been word yet if there are any exclusive weapons or collectibles, but I'm sure more details will be fleshed out in time. Now, the last thing that comes with this DLC is another incursion, and while we still don't know much about it, a name has been floating around, and rumor has it that it is much longer and more involved than previous incursions before it. So, here's hoping. Alright, so that's the main elements of the actual DLC itself, but as you know, Update 1.6 comes with it, and it's a free update that will be open to everyone, regardless if you own the DLC or not. But they will be released simultaneously, and of course, just like the other DLCs, there will be exclusive weapons and gear sets, no doubt. But so far, only a few have been announced. Now, I'm sure that will change as more details emerge. But let's get into Update 1.6, guys, and like I said, it is huge. The website says it is the largest update they have created thus far, which says something because considering 1.5, that was absolutely no small patch. Again, with all of this, we will see more weapons and gear sets, so don't be discouraged, but those haven't been released yet. Only one gear set has been confirmed so far, and we'll get to that here in a second. But let's start off with all of the big changes coming in 1.6. To start things out, there will be no new world tier, and gear scores are staying put. As said on State of the Game, they don't want us going through old missions to find new gear, just so we can access the new content. Now, personally, I would rather see new story missions to accompany a small gear score increase. But hey, it is what it is. As so, we've heard the DZ will be expanding into 9 total zones. Landmarks will be present throughout the new areas, but this time, landmarks aren't a one-and-done deal. They will have waves of enemies. So expect to fight longer. But with that, once you clear out a landmark, you will be rewarded with items placed directly into your inventory without the need to extract them. So that is a huge new piece of gameplay to cater to some of those PvE players hating the DZ extractions. Also, if you don't feel like running through all of the 9 DZ zones, checkpoints will now act as fast travel points from within the Dark Zone. So if you want to get back to your friends or skip everything and head right to the top, you can open up your map from some rooftop in the middle of everything and just fast travel right to it. Note that you cannot be in combat, and if you have contaminated items on you, they will be destroyed if you fast travel. That is the only downside. So I made a video a while ago about the DZ and Update 1.6, as well as all the wishes and ideas that I had. In there, I said that there wasn't enough things for people to do and they were just simply becoming bored. So they then take out their boredom on anyone walking by. Well, this new update will have a new event called Contamination. Cleaners have invaded highly contaminated areas of the DZ and are set to kill anything in the area. Once every hour, cleaners will sweep these contaminated areas and it's your job to stop them. However, all these bodies have created a situation so concentrated that your mask cannot keep up, which means you will continuously lose health while you're down in the thick of it. Learn how to manage your health while in combat and rid these areas of the threat. Now, no word on loot or how it'll work, but it sounds like a prolonged event, not just a one and done. I could be mistaken. Perhaps it's just like 3 dudes walking around, boom, you kill them and that's it. But I'm hoping for more of an underground type engagement. Also coming in 1.6, Dark Zone leaderboards. These leaderboards reset on a weekly and monthly basis. At the end of each, rewards will be given out to the top contenders. For PvP, things like rogue kills, manhunt survived, and extractions hijacked will be tallied. On the PvE side of things, amount of enemies killed, items extracted, and locked chests looted. Now while you're in the DZ looking for loot, we will have a new tier of items. Exotics. Now no, this isn't Destiny. Named armor and weapons will now have their own category, as well as inventory color. And like I said, they're now called exotics. They will have the lore in the descriptions to add to where they came from, and each exotic weapon will have its own unique talent, if it did not already have one. Also on top of that, there will be exotic weapon sets. For example, the Valkyria, the small named SMG, will be split into 2 weapons. The Hilder and the Eir. Or Ear, I'm not really sure how you say E-I-R. Anyways, those talents become active and synergize together when you have them both equipped. So that is something pretty awesome, guys. I actually didn't see that one coming, so I'm glad that they keep trying to innovate on the small things. It makes an absolutely huge difference. Now, there are such things as exotic caches. It's a cache that will guarantee an exotic item. It's available once per week, and how do you get it? Well, that flows into the next thing we're about to talk about, legendary difficulty. Now for the Destiny players out there, this is plainly put a Nightfall. Legendary difficulty is a tier above Heroic, and at launch will only be available in 3 missions: Times Square, Warren Gate Power Plant, and Napalm Production Site. It's intended for organized groups who have their own unique skill sets. Legendary difficulty isn't about, higher health or more armor like the NPCs in times past. They said that if you fought a hunter before, then you know what you'll be facing in legendary difficulty. More flanking, smarter enemies, and deadly melee attacks. Also, you'll see a lot more skill uses and counter skills. This will be the ultimate test according to the devs. So learning how to deal with strategies and tactics will be key to overcoming this challenge, and I cannot wait to see that happen. So that's how you get your guaranteed exotic cash. It resets once per week, and if you beat legendary difficulty, well then you have your reward. Next up, every gamer's favorite word is being introduced into the Division, and that word is microtransactions. I thought you guys would like that one. There will be a new currency called Premium Credits that will allow you to purchase new emotes, weapon skins, and vanity items. And honestly, guys, I'm surprised this wasn't around sooner. So kudos to them for worrying about the game first before adding something like this. Alright, so those were the major changes to the game itself, but with 1.6 comes an absolute crazy amount of overhauling to stats, armor, gear sets, weapons, and much, much more. I will have a more complete video about each one of those items in the days to come because it would draw this video out to like 45 minutes if I did all of it right here. So look for that here soon, but I will go over all of the bullet points of what's going on in each of those categories. So let's start with the big one, and that is armor. No secret, guys, armor is the be-all, end-all stat. Nothing else really matters, and it creates a stagnant environment when there are so many build possibilities available. So with that, Update 1.6 will be removing armor as a major bonus entirely. It will be replaced with health, which means that raw health and your stamina stat will be the main source of toughness. Although armor will be present, it will no longer be the main stat to look for. Now this, guys, that is a huge change because health is a big deal. With more health means your first aid skill will no longer fill you up like it used to. In fact, with other changes coming that you'll see here in a second, healing will be very minimal unless you invest in it. Skills, skill power, damage, all of this will be different with armor out of the picture. Now there will be talents that still give out bonus armor, but since it won't be adding it to an already high amount of armor, it will have a smaller impact than before. Say for instance, adding 5% armor to 60% makes a way bigger difference than adding 5% to 20%. So, let the building begin. Now there are other things they're doing like adding diminishing returns to status effects and having resistances become binary instead of analog. Again, I'll create another video going over all of that in detail. Next, there's going to be a ton of changes coming to skills and skill power. Here's the short, and again, you'll see all of this in a skill video later in the week. Skill power has been moved to a system similar to armor, where each new world tier you reach will demand more skill power to reach the same effectiveness of your skills. There's a bigger difference in skill efficiency between low and high power skill builds, and changes have been made to the sticky bomb, first aid, and shock turret. Basically, shock turret will no longer do damage at all, only CC, and it follows the same rules as other skills with diminishing returns, and basically the more it's used, the less effective it will become up until a certain time. First aid will heal you in 2 stages now. You'll get a small burst initially, and then the rest over time. And sticky bomb receives a delayed detonation like a grenade. It will also have a red warning area before exploding. You'll hear a beeping noise as well. Also, the flashbang mod will no longer do any damage at all and no longer cause the EMP effect on turrets or seeker mines, and that is an absolutely terrible change in my opinion. Next, signature skills have also been changed, but mostly for the better. Tactical link damage has been lowered in PvP only, and teams can no longer spam signature skills. There will be a cooldown for 60 seconds between each. This is good and it's bad. It lets you not use double skills and basically lose one if you and your teammate both pop one at the same time, but also it means you cannot apply them back to back. You have to wait until the cooldown has happened. So basically, once you use a tactical skill, everyone becomes immune for tactical skill until 60 seconds afterwards. Then you can use it again. Alright, and finally we come to some PvP changes, and here is the short. Hipfire stability while moving has been decreased, and a new hipfire camera has been added. Damage gap between body and headshots has been lowered. When combat rolling, there is a 1-second delay before you can roll again. No longer can you reload while sprinting, also a terrible change. Medkits can now remove status effects even if you're at full health. That's a good change. And your enemy's health bar will flash when they use a medkit. Whatever. Also, as you can see on screen, a few talents are changing up, and I'll go over those talents in detail along with the skills in another video. And finally, the last thing we come to on the list, small economy changes. You can now recalibrate an unlimited amount of times. Helping civilians now reward intel, high-end pistols in survival no longer cost division tech, scavenger box scales with world tier, and item prices have been tweaked around some of the vendors. Alright guys, so that's the gist of all of the major changes coming with the Last Stand DLC as well as Update 1.6. Gear sets, weapon, skill changes, nerfs, buffs, talents, all of that will be in another video where I can actually take the time to explain some of these changes without having a crazy long video with it. But there will be a ton of new information coming in the days and weeks ahead. So stay tuned to Sly Nation and my Twitter account @SlyNation for all of the info broken down into easier to handle pieces. All in all, there are some things that I don't agree with, but for the most part guys, these changes look to be pretty good. Shaking up the meta lets new ideas into the mix. Out with the old, in with the new, and I'll take new any day of the week. But that's it for me guys, thanks for watching, and I'll be sure to keep you updated as new things are discovered. Keep an eye out for more videos coming out of Sly Nation here very soon, but until then, this is your boy Sly. Later guys.